Brown here with you on this Wednesday morning with
Hump
Brenden Martin. Yeah, well,
day!
and
Hump
it's the
day!
day between because we had the two play-in games last night,
Yep.
and up in Dayton we'll talk about, and tomorrow it officially begins. Tigers, Gators, Tide, Vols, Rebels, Tigers. Golly, man, Wildcats.
Lions, Tigers. Oh my!
I feel like I'm at the zoo with my kids and grandkids.
You did go to the zoo a lot this year.
I love to go to the zoo. I got my membership to the Memphis Zoo, ranked number 2 in America, behind I think Zoo Carolina in Raleigh. I have to go check it out. Hey, Brenden, you know what? People want to watch this show live, so be it. We love you. If not, you can catch us later at any time on your cell phone. Take a picture of that QR code, and you'll get a ding every time we go live. And we've got this show on the channel, Buddy Martin's show. We've added an Auburn Undercover show, which we do today at 5 p.m. Eastern. And we've got Scarborough Knows, which launched Sunday night. That was awesome. Building a network. SEC Sidelines.
We're doing another one with Scarborough today, so he'll be posting that soon. So we've got all sorts of stuff. You can click on that QR will take you to Twitter or X. Go ahead and follow us. Check us out on Facebook at Sidelines. Go ahead and click like and follow there. And on YouTube, go ahead and search for SEC Sidelines Sports Network, where you can see all of our podcasts and playlists are sitting right there for us. Yes, Rob, the dance is started.
Well, you know what's cool is Jim McClellan, my friend in Little Rock, watches this show every morning while he's on the treadmill. So, hello, Jim McClellan.
Rob, you're always fascinated by the technology. Yes, and the gyms in California, Rob. There is more to this country. So we've got from East Coast to West Coast, and even in probably China, if you're pirating this or something like that.
How about Gator George out in Portland? I love that guy.
Yeah, well, Portland, it's raining. What's it like, 2 a.m. there?
Yeah.
5-hour difference?
He gets up and watches.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring in Oakley, McFerrin, Oakley, the intern, Franz Beard, the Iron Duke, Franz, Swiss Army knife. Been covering basketball a long time. Oakley's our intern, Franz at Auburn. And we had some homework assignments for this week. Kind of research he does every week. He's really good. He's a very, very smart young man. And I'm going to tell you things we wanted to talk about today, Oakley. And that was, what have teams who've lost 3 of their last 4 games done in the NCAA tournament? Who are the best tournament coaches record-wise? And then name 4 teams that are under the radar. So we'll get to that, Oakley, in just a few minutes. And Franz, I know you and Oakley and Brenden and everybody were glued to the TVs last night for the play-in games in Dayton, Ohio. Franz, Alabama State, the Hornets. Are they still celebrating in Montgomery, Oakley? I think they're playing the Auburn Tigers. Is this the Iron Bowl of basketball?
Well, here's the thing: is the Alabama State coach was one of Bruce Pearl's assistants, and Todd Golden was on the staff when that coach was the assistant too.
Tony Madlock.
Tony Madlock, yeah, and this is what you see there. The joy that you saw from the guys at Alabama State. I mean, how many times has a team from the SWAC won a ball game in the tournament? And I would say maybe 2 times, 3 times, maybe at the most. That may have even been the first time they've ever had a winner. I know the MEAC, which is where it used to be Florida A&M, but now, and North Carolina A&T, but they've since left. But they've got Bethune-Cookman and Norfolk State. They may have only won 1. Florida will be opening against Norfolk State at the MEAC. So it's always great to see these historic black colleges and universities get a win, especially when you got a guy like Tony Madlock, who, by all accounts, is one of the really good guys in the sport.
I think he played at Melrose High School here in Memphis. Played at Memphis and was with Larry Finch on the staff, and it is really cool. Oakley, how big basketball is in Memphis and Nashville, and I think it's getting to be big all over the South. Let me ask you this: as a freshman in college, people say, "Oh, these kids don't pay attention." You watch every game. You watch every Steelers game. You go to a lot of them. Are you seeing everybody on campus dialed in just to watch Auburn or just these big SEC games? Is that we're all going to, whatever you pick the bar if you're old enough to go, but you get together at people's houses or the Elk Slides, whatever. Is that what happens?
Yeah, so I think, especially primarily talking about Auburn with our football team not being as good,
Yeah.
you won't. I think right now people are more invested in basketball on campus, and there's more joy and passion behind it than you see for the football team with how it is the last 4 years. And especially when you have a team like this year's team, and if you can make a deep run, that passion will only get deeper. And with the whole SEC being good, I mean, the whole Southeast is going to dig into basketball.
Yeah, and along the line of what Oakley just said, friends, for the first time in history last year, friends, there were more students in the College of Business at Auburn than the College of Engineering. And now football has taken a back seat to basketball. Friends, let's get started right now. Let's talk about the games last night, the winners, and what you think they're going to do. We know Alabama State plays Auburn, but about that other game.
Well, I'll tell you what, North Carolina not just surprised me, they shocked me with how well they played actually at both ends of the court. Their defense, which has been really suspect all year, was there. They've been like this all year, able to score points. Their problem has been unable to stop anybody, unable to get rebounds, and they did that last night. They are a dangerous team. Moving forward. I'm one of these people, if I'm a number 6 seed and I'm on that 6-11, if I'm on that 6-11 line and all of a sudden I've got North Carolina, I'm not exactly a happy camper right now because these guys can play. They can hit shots. And when you get a team that goes into a shooter's coma like that, a lot of stuff can happen. Ole Miss has got these guys next, and they could run Ole Miss out of the gym. By the same token, Ole Miss could run them out of the gym. Yeah, I think it stands to be a very competitive game, though. And you got two teams that typically all season long have not rebounded the basketball very well.
Yeah.
So whoever can rebound is going to win this ball game.
Yeah, and remember y'all all remember this, back in the 2021 season, one of those teams that was a play-in game team, UCLA got all the way to the Final Four and lost 93-90 to Gonzaga. Now, Syracuse was the worst team ever, quad one win-wise, to get into the NCAA with the play-in until North Carolina at 1-12. But Bubba Cunningham runs that committee. Carolina was getting in, and he gets his $110,000 bonus. That's the way it is. I was born.
Most importantly, he didn't have to fire his coach.
Yeah,
it's been buyout money.
That's right. I mean, they ain't cheap.
He can justify that with the boosters. Well,
yeah.
Well, we made the tournament, so how are we going to fire this boy?
Yeah, I know. It is expensive to do it. All right, Oakley, let's see what these answers are. And this is interesting. What have teams who've lost 3 of their last 4 games done in the NCAA tournament? I know a little about it, but I'm curious if you found out anything on top of that.
Yeah, so so the first team I found was Michigan State, who lost 5 of their last 7 going into the tournament last year, and they ended up getting bounced in the second round. Then Iowa 2 years ago lost 4 of their final 6 games, and they lost first round to Auburn.
Yeah.
Then 3 years ago, LSU is a 6 seed, lost 4 of their final 7 games, and lost an 11 seed in the first round. So definitely not a great territory Auburn's in, with no one making it past the second round. But
yeah, that is. Yeah, and they were all, I think a couple of them were quad one losses. All right, next question. Who are the best coaches tournament wise, record wise in here. I know some of them, but there's always that obscure guy at a place like St. Mary's.
Yeah, well, the top four were kind of the ones you would guess: John Calipari, Bill Self, Tom Izzo, and Rick Pitino.
The vampire.
So, kind of the blue blood coaches of college basketball.
Yeah. Well, interesting. Okay, go ahead, friends.
Lest we forget too, Calipari and Bill Self were Larry Browne's assistants when Kansas made its run 1988 to win the national championship. So this is going to be a battle of two very close friends, old colleagues, who went behind the ears because Self came from Oklahoma State and Calipari, I don't know where he came from. All I know is he started when he started his career, he was at UNC Wilmington until he spent too much time at the Crescent Bar down on Wrightsville Beach, and ended up going to a Division II school up in Pennsylvania. I don't know where he was an assistant before he was at Kansas, but that's a pretty great staff when you think about it. You got 3 Hall of Fame coaches all on the same staff,
and the only one ever, Oakley and friends, to win a college national championship, Larry Browne at Kansas, and an NBA championship with the Knicks, New York Knicks. So is that Larry Browne's the only coach?
He didn't coach the Knicks.
No,
he coached somebody, but it wasn't the Knicks.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, because the Knicks have never won it. I'm sorry.
The Knicks haven't won since Red
Moses walked the earth.
Well, that was Red Holtzman. That was Earl Monroe, Dave DeBuscher, Bill Bradley, Willis Reed, coming off the bench, Mike Reardon, Dave Stallworth. That was a great team back in those days. Beat the Lakers, and that was the Willis Reed game when Willis Reed came off the bench. Good trivia question. Where did Willis Reed play college ball?
Willis Reed. Not Transylvania University, was it?
No, that's where C.M. Newton got his start coaching, though.
Yeah. Where did he play it?
He played at Grambling.
Wow. And near Ruston, Louisiana, in Grambling, Louisiana.
Yeah.
A great trivia question. All right, Oakley. Now, Franz knows a little about basketball. He's been covering since Dean Smith was smoking on the side of the court during games. They don't call it Tobacco Road for nothing, do they, Franz?
He'd sneak cigarettes from me after games at the press conference. Yeah.
I mean, he was incredible to listen to him talk about basketball. And that's where this ACC madness comes from. Oakley, all right, one more question. And Franz and I, we want to get see what you say. Who are 4 teams that you think are under the radar, off the radar, not being talked about, that you think pose a serious threat, especially to our 14 SEC teams that are going, which is a record, by the way. 2011, the Big East had 11, and we beat that by 3. So take that. Now we got to bring home, the bacon.
Yes, sir. Yeah, my first 3 sleepers are Sweet 16 sleepers. Would be Drake, because they just play an unconventional style of basketball. They slow you down. I don't think anybody wants to see them. VCU is one of the most rugged teams. They're like compared to like a Tennessee type, where they want to turn the game into a dogfight.
Yep.
And they just play with great intensity. And then same with UC San Diego, can shoot the ball great, and I don't think Michigan loved that draw at all. And I think they could potentially beat Michigan and Yale or A&M, whoever they end up playing. And then my final 4 sleeper was Maryland. I think Maryland, if they can get past Florida, I think Maryland's a great basketball team.
Now, Franz, part of Gatorbait Media, Oakley, but a longtime writer, and I think Franz can be as objective as anybody. And it's the orange and blue of your glasses, Franz. I can't see your eyes. No, but Franz, I love Oakley is a student of history. He is he's an old soul in a lot of ways because he's been a Steelers fan his whole life. Same thing with Auburn. I like that pick on Maryland because Oakley, we grew up when they had a coach named Lefty Drizel at the old Cole Field House.
One of my buddies.
God, give me a foot stomp, Lefty. All right. What about his 4 friends? You agree with those, or you got some different ones?
No. I would go dangerous team for Auburn is Creighton. Creighton has this big center named Ryan Kalkenberg, 3-time defensive player of the year in the Big East, who is 6'11", and he's the kind of guy that Auburn doesn't like. Auburn doesn't like teams with really good big men. That's why Florida beat them so badly up there at Auburn. They're better with teams that are just perimeter guys, etc. But Kalkenberg's the kind of guy that can make Janai Broom go to his right hand, and if he has to go to his right hand, he's toast. But they are very, very dangerous for Auburn. They'll win their first round game with Louisville. Another team that is extraordinarily dangerous could have 2 straight SEC wins. If they've got to have good officiating, they can't get into a game that's an all whistles game, even though they'll make all their free throws.
Yeah.
The problem is the depth that they would foul out, and that's St. Mary's, because St. Mary's gets Vandy in the first round, and they'd probably get Alabama in the second because I can't see Robert Morris or Philip Morris, whichever it is. Maybe
Tobacco.
Yeah, well, yeah, in that round, they are a very, very dangerous team. Another team that's dangerous, particularly for the SEC, is UConn in that first round. And if there's a team in this bracket, in the West bracket, that really can challenge Florida, it'll be in that second round against UConn. UConn. Remember something. UConn in 2014, the Gators made it to the Final Four. They only had 3 losses that year. 2 of them were to UConn. Their first loss was to UConn up there, and that's when Scotty Wilbekin couldn't play. And the second one was at the end of the year. Wilbekin was able to play, but UConn was healthy, and they won that game. For some reason, UConn has had Florida's number in the past, but I think they're the more dangerous team. I think Maryland gets upset by Grand Canyon first round.
All right.
Really?
All right.
Yes.
Oakley. Yeah. Go ahead, friends.
And my final team in there that I think is going to be very, very dangerous, McNeese State.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, McNeese State is dangerous. And we have a coach who's going to be coaching for his next job, which apparently is going to be North Carolina State. And that's Will Wade.
Oh, God.
And Will Wade was an NIL pioneer. He was only problem was it wasn't NIL then. It was called
a little early.
It was called cheating.
Yeah.
But Will Wade wins everywhere he's been.
Yeah.
And that's the secret of, you look at coaches' resumes. What did they do before they got the big job? It's like Bill Self. He won at Oral Roberts. He won it at Illinois. Then he goes to Kansas. He has a track record of winning.
Yeah.
And Will Wade has a track record of winning. NIL, we know he's got that down pat. He knows how to buy a player. He's already been that route with LSU.
2017.
My gosh, while the rest of us have been trying to play it legal and avoid the NCAA, Will Wade said, "Hell with the NCAA, and we're just going to buy them damn players."
Hey, Oakley, what Francis talked about back in 2017, he was allegedly caught on tape, quoted when he was recruiting a player to LSU. He said, "Look, son, we made you a strong ass offer." That was all of a sudden he's coaching at McNeese and not at LSU. But I'm with you. You know, a school that's produced a lot of coaches is Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond. They've cut a lot of them come out of there. All right, Oakley, stay with us the whole show if you can. I know you got class. Athletics makes men strong. Studies make men wise. Character makes men great. And being on time makes your teachers happy. So don't want to get you in trouble. That's the Auburn creed, except for that last part. All right, Oakley, looking at this tournament, of all the games, give me your Final Four.
Ooh, okay.
Nothing like putting you on the spot.
I think right now, if I had to pick out of the South region, as much as this hurts me to say, I'd say Michigan State.
That's who I picked. Yeah.
I think they're playing good at the right time, and they finished the season off with like 7 ranked wins, something crazy like that. I think Florida's hard to pick against. No team's playing better than Florida.
Yeah.
They're just complete. They have 8 7-footers, it feels like, and then they've got a great backcourt. And then I think Alabama comes out of Duke's region. Got to have some upsets in there, but I think Duke's the better team. I think I'm banking on Alabama hitting some threes that day, and then I think Houston will come out of the North region, so the Midwest. Yeah, they haven't made a run. I think they're due to make a run. They have more offense this year than they normally do, and they're one of the top defensive teams in the country, as they always are. But they've got offense this year.
No, that's exactly Kevin Skarbinski we launched another show, his new show on our channel Sunday night, and Franz and I were on there. He put us on the spot. I mean, the ink wasn't dry on the brackets, and I picked Michigan State, Florida, Houston, Alabama. And who do you have? We're thinking on the same level. This is wild. Who do you have playing for the national championship, and who do you have winning?
I'd have Florida versus Houston, and I'd have to pick Florida.
That is exactly who I picked. Were you watching the show? Scarbo knows. Wow. And again, I hope I'm wrong. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm an Auburn grad. Kind of love that school, but you got to be objective, and you got to be agnostic when you pick this stuff. Oakley, before you go, I got to ask you another one. Who would be your long shot, to blow up the party? Why is it Duke, Cooper Flag? We don't know his status.
So, I mean, he'll play, but he'll never be fully healthy this tournament. And he has a similar injury to what Janai Broome had with his ankle. But Broome doesn't really rely on his athleticism. Cooper Flag is jumping and cutting and running a ton more than Janai Broome is. So I don't think he'll ever be 100% this tournament.
And folks, call it by its right name, Duke. D-O-O-K. They even have a parade every year before the football game down Franklin Street in Chapel Hill called the Beat Duke Parade.
They don't like each other. And by the way, Oakley, along the lines of what Franz is saying, Auburn gets the overall number 1, goes to Lexington. Now, I'm going to be in Atlanta. I've got to go to Birmingham next week and then be in Atlanta for my wife's spring break to see Mallory and the granddaughter and Tyler and everybody. Auburn better get to Atlanta because I'm going. I'm going to be there, and I'm going, and I hope you'll come up there and make it. But I got to ask you about this Lexington region that Auburn's in. Francis is right about Creighton or Louisville.
Well, the thing with Louisville is they'll have a big home court advantage, I would assume. It's about an hour and a half away, but Creighton's definitely the better overall team, and their big man is one of the top bigs in the country. So I do think that's a bad matchup for Auburn. Also, I think Michigan's a bad matchup for Auburn. They have 2 great bigs that can stretch the floor, as we saw Danny Wolf last year into our tournament. A&M, Auburn's never been good against A&M.
Rock fight.
So
we've won 2 of the Auburn's the one won 2 of the last 8 in that game.
No.
Okay.
I don't think Auburn had a great draw for being the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah, it's Duke gets to play their first 2 games in Raleigh
Raleigh.
8 miles from campus. I mean, might as well play at, Cameron Indoor. What the hell?
Yes, sir.
All right, Oakley, academics first. And we're going to get you on again here before next week, I think, because we're going to be doing a lot of stuff in this tournament. It's going to be an incredible tournament. If you see, Chad Baker-Mazara is already gone, but you know what? Is he popular on campus, by the way?
He is. He shows his face a lot. He's a big personality on campus.
Shows his face and a lot. Yeah, you're right. I love the guy. He's competitive. He's from the Dominican Republic. You never have to worry about him being fired up to play. All right, Oakley, how do they follow you on social media? And we'll let you go.
I'm Oakley.McFerrin across all platforms. So
the man of all platforms.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, absolutely, man. Love it. All right, let me say something about Winter Timber Outdoors, one of our sponsors, friends. It is turkey season, okay? There are 3 ways you can call a turkey. Do it with your mouth, with the diaphragm call. They sell those. The slate calls, the box calls, which are really cool, but they've got everything. The ground blinds, the turkey load ammunition, Migra Ammunition out of Charleston, South Carolina. They make great turkey loads. They sell them all at Winter Timber Outdoors. When you go into Winter Timber, what you'll find is a massive selection, and the store's big, but it's not so big. It's like trying to take a drink of water from a fire hydrant. The staff knows what they're doing. They've got over 2,000 shotguns, rifles, and handguns in the store, secured, of course, and a staff that is into the outdoor life. The investors, the partners, they're all Southern. They love the outdoors, and the South needs a locally owned, out of Athens, Alabama, building a new store in Auburn, coming to an SEC town near you. Winter Timber Outdoors. Proud to have them as a sponsor. And hey, you see this Ernie's brackets up here, folks. Get into that. Take a picture with your cellular phone and take a picture and fill out your brackets. Ernie March Madness Tourney. Get in there and make it happen. Loren Meadows joins us right now. And our lineup today, a little different. Normally Dudley Dawson, hogville.net. He switched to tomorrow. Vince Ferrara. You talk about the life of media people right now. He's doing a show this morning, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. Then he's going to be jumping in his car and driving to Lexington, KY, for the availabilities and the shoot-arounds and stuff. He'll try to join us in his car if he can get a signal, but we'll see what happens. But you know what? We have a deep depth chart. We have depth. We got Franz Beard, Loren.
Yeah.
Loren. I was just on with you last night on the.
Yeah, you called in the JV, but sometimes the JV gets the call
JV.
up. So no,
it ain't the JV. It's America's kickoff team.
Right. Well, I'm a little. Y'all don't look at your comments, man. I was 2 for 2 on those trivia questions. I had Larry Browne coaching the Pistons.
Yeah, you did.
And then I had Willis Reed coming from Grambling. I was 2 for 2. And then you forgot my homeboy. I'm a Laker fan. Y'all forgot my guy Phil Jackson on those Knicks teams. Y'all didn't mention Big Phil. So I was trying to.
I couldn't see. I had the screen on large, and so when I did that, I can't see the comments until I shrink it. My apology. Hey, and you know what? I wish I still had all my cards because I had a Lou Alcindor card from the Milwaukee Bucks. I have a Don Drysdale card. Roger Staubach signed my football, and I played football in the street with it. I don't know where it is. But, all right, let's talk about that Ernie's bracket real quick. Loren Meadows from Dayton, Ohio. And last night, you're right. That's a bad, big-ass deal. Those play-in games up in Dayton, Ohio. The aliens were in attendance. They were there at courtside. North Carolina. You start dog cussing somebody and telling them how bad they are. They're still North Carolina. And I just checked. Every school that beat North Carolina this year celebrated. They rolled Toomer's Corner. They went crazy. They banged on pots and pans. I don't think they deserve to be in the tournament, but now they're in there. And they're North Carolina. They're still. Be honest. It's about the brand and money.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt.
Okay.
I mean, the tournament is better. It's just like college football. We talk about the teams. We love when those blue blood teams are relevant again, obviously. But it's the same thing in basketball. I mean, UNC is basketball. I think we've all spent some time, cut our teeth down there on Tobacco Road. I lived in Durham for some time. And it's the brand. I mean, it is. And the tournament is better for it. And even for Dayton to get a school like UNC in the first four, I mean, that's a dream. I mean, those people in Dayton have really fought for that tournament to keep it there. Shout out Mayor Nan Whaley, who did a great job fighting for that thing. And yeah, I mean, it's just one of those brands that you got to have it. It's the Jordan brand. It's all of those things that go into it. And I mean, let's face it, this isn't the first time and it won't be the last. But now you look at the way they did San Diego State up there in Dayton at UD Arena, and you talking about a team that with 4 minutes to go was up 14 on Florida in the Jordan Invitational. I was there. I mean, Florida had to dig deep, and I think for as much as that was a big step for Todd Golden and his team, it may have knocked Hubert Davis and his team down a little bit during that time. But if you filling out your Ernie's bracket, and we encourage everybody to get involved in this Ernie's bracket, we're going head to head with the Auburn folks. Like we said, SEC schools talk, Florida wins. So we want to take it to those people up at Auburn. I think a lot of people underrate the Auburn-Florida rivalry. So, fill out your brackets. We're going head to head, but then ultimately you can win you some money. And I want that traveling trophy. That's what I want. I want to be able to come on SEC sideline and put that trophy out there and show people what it is. But yeah, I mean, now you got to look at North Carolina. And I mean, you talk about, them coming in, kind of rolling. That Ole Miss North Carolina matchup on Friday is interesting, man. It is. And like I said, I was there. I was sweating. I was biting my fingernails because UNC was giving. I mean, I know it was in December and it's early, but they were giving Florida everything they could handle. So the talent is there. And like I said, you start to look at some of these rosters top to bottom, the rosters, the talent level, things like that, maybe not the way they play, but then if some of that talent starts to finally hit its apex, a school like North Carolina could find themselves, and then they're talking about the winner of Iowa State and Lipscomb if they beat Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. And now you got a playing team that's in the Sweet 16. So,
well, all right, here's the question I've got for you. The Ernie's money, if you win it as an individual, you get to keep the money, because I know at the St. Louis hole-in-one fundraiser at our church, it's been going on since 1957. If you hit a hole-in-one or, you win a big prize, you can keep the money, but inevitably one of the parish priests will be there and go, well, you could certainly give the money back to the women and the children. And they kind of just, okay. So you get to keep that money. Because I used to we would win the canoe race from Memphis in May. We'd each get $100 bill, whichever one of my kids would be closest to him. He got the 100. And then it all started going to the church health center. I couldn't argue with that, but I love winning. I hate losing. I hate losing an intra-squad scrimmage. And
no doubt.
Anyone Absolutely. That's okay with losing, I just can't. I don't care if you've just won that's why I didn't pick Auburn to get to the Final Four, is because they lost 3 of the last 4. And I'm not saying they're not good, and I hope I'm wrong, but some problems, you got to winning begets winning. And the opposite is, begets more losing. But
Auburn's biggest challenge will be Creighton.
I know.
It is not Michigan State
or Louisville. I mean, whoever they play.
No, they can't. Louisville will not beat Creighton. Michigan State will not make the Final Four or win the national championship. That's a myth. It's another Big Ten myth. The Auburn has a very easy path to the Final Four if they can get by Creighton. And Creighton,
I'm just trying to short a stock market. I'm trying to short Auburn. That's what I'm saying. Trust me, I'd like to see him win it all.
You think if you support him, you'll jinx him, Rob?
No, it's not that.
Yes, it is. Come
Well,
on, be honest.
I'll give Rob
You'll
credit.
jinx him.
I mean, the one thing I like about Rob is you're the one guy that you're not. I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, and maybe I don't want to admit you might lose some viewers because of this, but you're just lukewarm on Janai Broome. You haven't been like all in. I mean, you like the guy, but you haven't been. He's been the hot name since, basically Maui Invitational, but you've kind of kept that at arm's length to your credit. Am I right about that, Rob?
Well, the reason I do that is I always look at a team in football or basketball. How do you do against the absolute best competition that you face? And what you do against other teams is that's one category, but I compartmentalize it. I love the guy. I mean, hey, I want to see Auburn cut the nets down. But I guess it's because of picking stocks and all. Don't fall in love with a stock. It's a damn piece of paper, and it doesn't know where you bought it. And so if you want to sell it or whatever, you've got to be, don't get attached to them. I think my favorite player on that Auburn team, I mean, Chad Baker-Mazara, don't buy into the narrative to bench him. I loved Nick Fairley in 2010. There's always a bad guy. There's a villain out there, but I think Janai should be National Player of the Year. But I just want to see, like Fran said, Auburn doesn't match up well with those big teams. And Creighton, the Blue Jays, I go back to following them when they had a guy named Benoit Benjamin. Y'all remember him? So
I followed it when they had a guy named Bob Gibson, who became fairly famous.
Yeah,
ended up playing for the Harlem Globetrotters before he ever pitched a Major League Baseball game.
Yeah. Well, here's the funny thing. What I love about, you pick these teams is, and I'll pick several brackets. Now, Auburn's going to get the vote because my dogs, I do one for them. They pick all the animal mascots. So Spartan is not an animal. Tigers is. That puts Auburn in the Final Four. But the Yukon Huskies will go far. I'm sorry, but they will. But all right, guys. Buddy was here and now he's not. I wanted to bring he disappeared, but if Buddy comes back in this time of year covering these games, my God, it's just incredible. It started last night. And then tomorrow morning, Buddy, you told one of the cool stories when you were at the Denver Post in 1983 about one of your young writers, Rick Riley, wrote that great story about NC State winning it all. And you said, Rick, guys, great story there. It looks great. But you left out the score. So kind of set the table. Look at Buddy, man. He looks like he's ready to be in the press box.
No, I tell you the truth. I'm a little tired of talking about Auburn. Okay. I mean, who won the SEC championship?
Regular season, Auburn.
Well, yeah.
Who won the tournament, though?
Who won the tournament then? All right.
Oh, Florida did.
Okay. So riddle me this. Why is it that all four analysts have picked Florida to win, right? The whole thing. Why is it that it took so long to get Florida to the proper place in the seedings? It took forever. Almost defiantly, they waited around. I'll tell you why. Part of it was because they were so lost up in Alabama and enamored with the basketball rematch of between Alabama and Auburn. And I talked about this with Kevin Skorabinski, who I really have a great respect for a little bit. And I'm not being a homer here, but why was it so obvious to everybody, even you, Rob, this team was really good, one of the best, and yet they grudgingly got them into as a number one seed. They're still, should be ranked, in my opinion, as a number one overall team, but they just didn't care enough about Florida because they wanted the basketball rematch of the Iron Bowl, and they got lost. Meanwhile, the team in Florida was beating the crap out of those guys. I think, tell me if I'm wrong, Fran, didn't they go 5-1 against the Big Three in the SEC?
Against what now? That they went.
Florida went to 5-1 against the big dogs in the SEC.
Oh
right?
yeah, and 4 of those wins were on the road.
Yeah, and and by the way, beat the crap out of them. Didn't just beat them. Why didn't somebody see that? Come on, man. We got our eyes here. So I hear Auburn, Alabama, Auburn. I mean, I get it. It's exciting, but give the team credit. Give Todd Golden credit, and Rob, you have done that. But you tell me, guys, why did it take so long for people to even blind men like me? Because Ray Charles could have seen this team being so good since. Why did it take so long? What's going on with that, Rob? What's going on with
you're saying you're tired of hearing about Auburn? What, on my show?
I don't care anybody's show. I hear Auburn. Great. How about the team that beat them really bad?
Well, I've been talking about Florida, and I'll tell you, here's some numbers to look at. Kevin Skarbinski's number, non-conference strength of schedule.
I got it. I printed it off.
Team Florida 234.
I got all
non-conference record against NCAA field. Auburn 5-1, Florida 1-0. Losses by NCAA seed and margins of defeat. Duke is number 1 with 6, Florida 9, Texas A&M 11. Yeah. I have said all along,
Florida. Just put one other stat in there. 90-81. How's that go?
Yeah, Florida beat Auburn in Auburn. They were down by 10 early, came back and won the game. But as far as I've said, in my opinion, I just call it like I see it, not to placate anybody. I think the national narrative was, an Iron Bowl rematch. Okay, that's one thing. But Florida, as far as not getting respect, I mean, they've been in that top 4, and the NCAA, the way they do the seats,
barely in the top 4.
Yeah, and that part right there, when Handlockton came back and took off his red shirt, that was a big deal because they needed him. And when he did that, I think Florida, they all bought in. But
Florida was already on their way. They were beating those teams without him. I mean,
that's when Handlockton came back. It was like somebody in Ethiopia who's been searching for years, who found the missing link to discover that we did not descend from chimpanzees. I mean,
well, I think one of the things I think, buddy, is and I'm just reaching. This may be the only thing is. Todd Golden to the world is still kind of a new guy. And so I think, sometimes we have a tendency to either fall in love, like Rob says, with the name on the chest, or maybe the guy leading the pack. And you got guys like Bruce Pearl and Nate Oates who have been to Final Fours, where Todd Golden should and hopefully is on his way. I think it's just that. I mean, because like you said, anybody that's got eyes and can look at scores and numbers, I mean, Florida's right there with any team in the country, if not the most complete team in the country. I just think we still have a tendency in a world where we work on this news cycle where we grandiose things, guys like Bruce Pearl, Nate Oates, names like Duke, even a guy like Kelvin Sampson, just they hold more for the people that want to get, Duke is almost like a lunch pail type of team. They just put their head down, go about their business. And I think it's just one of those things. I think, it's just the personalities, but I agree. I mean, I'm with you and we talked about it.
Good enough. That's just not good enough.
Well, I mean, I think that's the only thing we can go to, because otherwise,
well, Florida's really good. They got all those dudes. They got more than all those dudes. Give them the names, are terrific players.
No, I agree.
I mean, I don't get on my soapbox very often. Bruce Pearl came out and said yesterday, Florida's the best team. They ought to win it all. Okay. We kind of knew that, didn't we, guys, a couple of weeks ago, friends?
Yes, we did. And the best player in the country plays for Florida. His name is not Cooper Flag. His name is not Janai Broome. Janai Broome, let me say this about Janai Broome. He has not been the same since he had that high ankle sprain, but he's played through it. And he's played, to his credit, he has played at a seriously high level despite the ankles. That Walter Clayton Jr. has been playing on a bum ankle too, that he suffered at Tennessee, and he missed a ball game for it, but he's continued to play through it. He's been playing on a bum ankle, and yet I don't know that there. You can talk about Cooper Flagg all you want to. The great white hope out of Duke. I mean, let's be real. That's what he is. And then you got Janai Broome up there at Auburn, who is a great player playing for a great team, but nobody does it more. Does more. I mean, this shows you how valuable Cooper Flagg was. They win the ACC without him. Okay. Meanwhile, Florida goes out there and just steamrolls 3 straight ranked teams, despite the fact that everybody's saying, boy, Missouri beat them once, they could beat them again. Florida blew them out the door. And then they ain't going to get Alabama twice. They beat them worse the second time than they did the first. And then they get to Tennessee, and they have to endure Joe Lindsey calling 800 fouls. What was the final tally? 901 free throw shot in that game. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, France. The thing about this, I give just due to Auburn and Bruce Pearl. What a fantastic year he's had. I don't like him saying, "Well, the last 10 games of the season don't count." Hello.
That's not Bruce Pearl saying that, buddy. That's the NCAA doesn't take into account the last 10 games.
I didn't say that.
Okay, yeah. Just make sure, because it wasn't him that said it.
I didn't say he said it.
Okay, yeah.
You just assumed I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I said in separate statements, I give Bruce Pearl all the credit in the world as a coach. But what league of any kind, anywhere, could ever say the last 10 games of the season don't count?
It's stupid. It's because they did it last year. If you remember when Auburn beat Florida 86-67, and you thought, oh, they're going to get a great seed, and they send them to Spokane. But Bruce Pearl, I don't think, handled it right because he made a big deal. Oh, we have to go across the country. That set a bad mindset, and then they get knocked out by Yale in the first round. But, yeah, I know what you meant. The NCAA is wrong to not factor those last 10 games. And Auburn had 16 quad one wins, which was more than anybody in the country, 5 quad one losses. That's big, but everybody with gray matter between their ears knows that Florida right now, yeah, they're playing better than anybody, but they had to stop Sunday after they won. They got to do it again, kind of from a zero start. Now you got to do it 6 straight times, but let's move on.
Why
I don't care where you know what? Who cares where you're ranked? It's where you finish.
Right, let me just add one statement. I want to make sure people understand. I'm not saying that it's not going to be a tough go. It's going to be a gauntlet. I'm scared to death of UConn. Okay, I'm not saying Florida's going to have an easy go of it. They're playing the best basketball right now.
Yeah,
doesn't mean they'll be playing that way in 2 weeks, like they are. A lot of things can change. Everybody loves Rick Pitino now, and there's all these other storylines.
The vampire.
It's great. It's fine. But I want to make sure people understand I'm talking about what happened prior to this, and I think it was wrong, and I hate the system. And quad one wins don't mean a damn thing to me when you beat a team straight up and led them by 25 points. I think the system is broken. I think people got to wake up and say, hey, this is not working right. Let's get it right, and let them play for it. Let's see who wins.
Here's the thing that the NCAA could have done and didn't do, which would have been smart. You could have put Florida in the South as the number 1 team. You could have easily moved Auburn to the Midwest, send them up to Indianapolis as the number 3, and put Houston 4 in the West. Houston is not going to draw anybody. Period. They don't travel. They don't even play. They're not the kind of brand that's going to travel. You could have just as easily sent them to San Francisco, and you'd have better geographics for this whole thing. Auburn going to Indianapolis. Auburn's going to travel to Indianapolis. That's fine. Florida's going to travel to Atlanta. That's fine. Duke, the Duke myth is going to continue, but Alabama's going to beat them wherever that's played.
You think, okay. I mean, Duke, again, buddy, we all know this. Like, the NCAA, these quad, they started the quad one thing, was it in the 2018-2019 season? And so you look at, again, we all remember in 21 when UCLA got in on a play-in and got to the Final Four. Gonzaga beat them 93-90. I think that worrying about where they put you, it hurts your team. You better be careful with that, because you got to, you know what I'm saying, buddy? You got to embrace it and say, hey, man, I don't care. We're glad to be there. I mean, I don't know, the national media, I will say this, just in my looking at it, they were way behind on picking up on Florida. And the thing is, if you're going to count the whole season, you also, I mean, think about how we made it through college, guys, Loren, buddy, friends. At the end of the semester, you went to extra credit and you kicked ass, and then you made an A on the final. That's got to count for something, because
I was on the 11-year plan.
I was on the 6-year plan. But, buddy, I mean, you've seen a lot, and I don't know. I think this Florida, I think that, look, you know what? They control it. You can control the narrative, control the controllables. Florida they're rolling right now. And again, they're a throwback team because they got all those, Franz, you're right, 25 big fouls to give. So this, now you just got to do it 6 straight times. And same thing for Auburn and Alabama and Tennessee and Ole Miss against North Carolina. If they beat, here's the thing, North Carolina had 1-12 in quad one wins this year. But if Ole Miss beats them in the first round, they will be dancing and celebrating on the square in Oxford because they beat North Carolina. Regardless, and Buddy's right, regardless of their 1-12 record in quad one wins, buddy, nobody will give a damn.
It's a made-up stat.
Let me tell you guys, give you guys something that's kind of interesting that you may not know. In 2006, Florida lost 3 straight games, won 2, then went on to win the SEC tournament and the NCAA. 2007, they lost 3 of their last 5 regular season games, beat Kentucky on Senior Day in Gainesville, and then went on to win it all. But both of those teams showed one basic thing: you get hot at the right time, and it's all over.
Hey, Paul's friends, quick question. In 06 and 07, did Florida win either the regular season SEC championship or the tournament, or did they win both in any one year, or 1 and 1?
In 06, they did not win it. LSU won LSU won it in 07. No, they did not win.
So they didn't win either one, but they won it all back to back.
They won the tournament both years.
I mean, they won the SEC or the NCAA. I know they won the NCAA tournament.
Oh yeah, they did not win the SEC.
Okay, that's my point. So
they lost 3 ball games. They were winning the SEC, but then they lost to Vanderbilt, beat South Carolina in Gainesville, then lost at LSU, lost at Tennessee, got beat bad at Tennessee, in fact, 86-76, I think it was. But the thing about it, what I'm saying is this: you got to get hot at the right time. Florida won the tournament both years because they got hot at the right time. And then, they springboarded the tournament into the NCAA. And again, you get through your conference tournament, and then it's a crapshoot. It's who can go 6-0, not who can be the best team necessarily. Although in 2007, Florida was the best team. I don't think Florida was the best team in 2006, but there was dice rolled that way because George Mason got some upsets in the East, and both UConn and Carolina fell, Duke fell, and those were the teams everybody thought would win it. And then everybody thought LSU would go to the Final Four and win there, because Florida had struggled against Georgetown and then beaten Villanova. So it's a matter of, like I said, you get hot at the right time.
That's right.
Then there's also that question of who you get in, who are your obstacles
Yeah, who's in your
in
bracket?
the way of going 6-0.
Big.
No doubt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Buddy and Loren, and Buddy, you make great points. I'll say this from my perspective. The national media was way behind, but in the SEC, we all knew how good Florida was. I mean, I picked Florida to win the SEC tournament, and I just call it like I see it. I mean, who doesn't like
you've been right the whole time.
No, but I'm saying the national media, a lot of them have missed it.
They lag behind, by the way.
Yeah, because they didn't want to admit they were wrong, because you have to give credit where it's due. And I think the toughness of these guys, like Janai Broome playing with that ankle messed up. And you're right about Cooper Flagman. He's all over the place. And Janai is 27, I think. I don't know. He's been around a while. Or Chad Baker Mazzara is 25. They've got some veteran experience, but so do the Gators. I tell you, you know what is frustrating is to hear the national narrative, how dismissive they are of schools that they don't know that much about. They're myopically focused on. I mean, there's a man crush they have on Duke that's, but it's explainable.
Yeah, I mean, blame our guy Mike Krzyzewski. You know, depending on how people feel about him. I'm a big Coach K guy, but you know, my family is a Duke family. Duke used to pay the bills at my house.
Your mama said you better be remembering her.
Yeah, so that's what I said. The mom spent some time at Duke Medical Center, so there was some good Christmases at the Meadows house because of Duke back in the 90s. But
I can see that.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, definitely. That's what took us from Dayton to Durham for a few years. But no, I mean, I think that, you know, yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, Duke has been really, you know, you take since that 1990, you know, that 91 team when I was a senior in high school, you know, with guys like Grant Hill, and I mean, his mom basically was Hillary Clinton's roommate in college. I mean, and then it just kind of took off. Christian Laettner was the guy you loved to hate, but everybody loved him. The girls liked him. I mean, they just had those guys, and at the root of it is Coach K. And I think it's one of those things that even though now Josh Shire has taken over, it just lingers. And Duke's a name. I mean, you talk about guys like Kyrie Irving, guys that are in the NBA now. I mean, it's just they love Duke. You got Jason Williams on ESPN. There's Duke's everywhere. I remember. Well, I'll say this. You know, in Dayton, I don't know if you guys remember this guy, Luke Kennard. So Franklin, Ohio, is a big former. Right. Everybody lives in Franklin. Grew up Kentucky fans until Luke Kennard came around. Was Mr. Basketball in Ohio. And all of a sudden, you go to a Franklin game, and everybody's got a Duke shirt on now because Luke Kennard was now going to Duke.
6'7".
Yeah, so I mean, it just Duke, and it was so quick. Like, who would ever think all these UK fans would instantly become Duke fans? But it was that easy. It's just Duke, and they just like that flipped the switch. And so, yeah, I mean, Duke is just a brand, man. It really is, and it's like Florida in football. It is just a brand.
You know who
Duke did not become a brand though until the end of Dean Smith's career, because Carolina was the brand up until then.
They were,
and even now, I'll tell you right now, and I know a lot of people, and this is not taking anything away from Mike Krzyzewski's career, but having covered both of them and having covered the ACC, Dean Smith would coach circles around Coach K as far as just pure coaching ability. Now, Coach K ended up being a great recruiter, got great players there, but his success is measured from the end of Dean's career onward, for all practical purposes.
And remember,
he was about to get fired.
Yeah,
so
his first
you're
7.
Right. Yeah,
he was almost terrible. The coach at Florida.
Yeah.
Well, think
Go ahead,
about his
Rob.
first 7 years at Duke were god awful. Hey,
Mhm.
buddy, did you ever have the pleasure of interviewing one of the more likable, affable figures on the college basketball scene, Jerry Tarkanian?
I never did. I was there. I've seen him, and I've been in a group that interviewed him at the tournament, but I never have interviewed one-on-one. No.
Well,
Sat
who are,
beside him at the 2006 semifinals. Sat right beside him.
well, here's my question. I'm going with this, buddy. Who are the villains in college basketball now? The coaches, coach-wise, because, Coach K he's really cool to listen to on his show. He's a West Point grad. His connection, obviously, with Bobby Knight and how he survived. And John
Hurley.
Thompson.
Hurley's a villain.
Yeah, I was going to say Danny Hurley. I like him.
Yeah, I like Hurley too.
I love him, man. That guy, he wants to be the first one out of bed in the morning. I mean,
Right.
Are they the first family of college basketball? The Hurleys?
They got a lot of blue. I mean, his dad at St. Peter's, and of course Bobby at Duke. And he, by the way, let's not forget he did win back-to-back national championships.
Yeah.
He's
Would
making
you
a
want
lot
to
of
play him?
right now, but there was a great piece on him with 60 Minutes, by the way. I really liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing about it. We love those villains. And friends, Dean Smith, it was so powerful watching. And you talked about the four corners, and other people tried to emulate that. You couldn't do it. You didn't have the talent that North Carolina had. I mean, you just think about Sam Perkins, James Worthy, Michael Jordan, of course,
Doherty.
Mitch
But
Kupchak.
they had a point guard named Jimmy Black, and Jimmy Black would hit an occasional big shot, but the one thing Jimmy Black didn't do was turn the ball over. And when you got a point guard like that, that was always the key to Dean's teams. If he had a point guard that did not turn the ball over, they were aces. Phil Ford was the best at it because he could run the four corners and wouldn't turn the ball over, and was quick. And there wasn't anybody in the country. You could put two guys on him and he'd split the two every time. Anyway, Phil played. Phil basically lived with me his senior year in high school in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. I'm planning to Saturday, because we play Friday and Sunday. I'm planning to take a little trip 52 miles over to Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and see if I can find the place I used to live. I understand the whole place has changed, and I won't recognize it.
Quick question. Michael Jordan from Wilmington, North Carolina?
Yeah.
That's where our friend yesterday, Tommy Kane, was on the show, who played at NC State. And one of y'all mentioned earlier in this show that Will Wade is likely going to be the next coach at NC State.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, you know about all the coaches they've lost in the ACC the last 5 years. That is a superstar, strong-ass coach. I mean,
Yes,
he really is.
Let me throw one other thing at you, Rob.
Yeah.
If Rodney Terry loses tonight, which it could happen, Xavier, could outcoach. I'll tell you what, he could, Sean Miller could outcoach him and win that game easily. But here's the thing: if Rodney Terry gets fired, they're going to make a Godfather offer to Billy Donovan.
Oh man! At
Now,
Texas,
you want to talk about all of a sudden, if the SEC's got Billy Donovan, John Calipari, Rick Barnes, Bruce Pearl,
NATO,
Todd Golden, Chris Beard of the Texas Beards, Mike White, who's a very good coach, but he just happens to be at the armpit of the South, which is Athens, Georgia. General Sherman's only mistake was he didn't venture over to Athens and burn the place down and salt the earth so nothing would grow there for 100 years.
I tell you, Mike White is trying to, in 122 years of basketball at Georgia, 122 years, they've won the SEC tournament maybe twice. I think they won the SEC 2 or 3 times. if he can get them going, they've got the resources, they've got the recruiting around there. We'll see what happens on that.
They
But
went to the Final Four in
in
1980.
'83, yeah,
Yes, indeed.
yeah.
Back
All
when they
red,
had a guy named Vern Fleming
yeah,
playing for him. And if Dominique Wilkins had not gone on to the NBA and Dominique Wilkins had been part of that team, they might have won it all that year.
yeah. Well, remember the
But
four
I hate
teams,
Georgia.
those four teams in there. Of course, NC State, Houston, Georgia. Does anyone remember the fourth team in there? Because they were all red.
Houston.
No, I'm saying Houston, NC State, Georgia, but the fourth team. Y'all remember who the fourth team was?
Louisville.
Yeah, they were all four red. I remember that, but I still think the Final Four, buddy, the tournament that got us all hooked, but was 1979. Dick Enberg and Al McGuire, Kenny Loggins. If this is it, make no mistake, that's the tournament that got us hooked. Was Indiana State, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Michigan State. That, as a kid, is what got me just hooked on this March Madness. And as much as we love football, guys, friends, if you got to go, thank you so much for being on with us. And you got a 7-pound Boston butt in the oven. Go get it, buddy. Buddy, look, the great writer, Loren, stay with me if they both got to go. But buddy, the writers are why we really follow it, is because these guys have continued to write about these great moments in history, Loren. I mean, and that was, it's really cool because Buddy's right. There has been like, forget about Florida. It's Duke, Cooper Flag, and all this stuff. Everybody we give Florida credit. We just call it like we see it.
Right, no doubt.
We're gonna wrap it up, but I'm telling you, what's hard to do is all the momentum that you've got. Then you have to stop for 4 or 5 days. You know, that's the thing that you just hate about the tournament. And then the reviews in basketball are getting to be as annoying as the reviews in football.
Right. Well, I think, from a coaching standpoint, I'll put my coaching hat on. The one thing that I'll say about the time in between is, from a coaching standpoint, I was always told rest is underrated.
It is.
And so what I would say that a lot of these guys are doing is, this is the time where you spend a lot of time in the cold tub, the cryo chambers, all the stuff that they're doing now, getting the massages, getting all those things, getting guys off their feet. You might go in, you might shoot around, you definitely doing walkthroughs, and just to make sure that when Thursday at noon hits, you're ready to go. Yeah. Friday at noon hits, you're ready to go physically, and now you just let it take over because you got the film study, that kind of thing. Any little wrinkles, anything that you're going to see, but that's it. You want to take these days and, more than anything, rest, recovery, and then get ready to play on Thursday and Friday.
Loren, look, thank you so much for coming in. We had a little scheduling.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome stuff. And I'll let you go on about your day, but we'll be watching, and I'll be hollering at you later today. We're on standby in case the show pops up. Okay. Let me say something about Landers Ford, people. It is an honor and a privilege to talk about these sponsors that we have. And Landers Ford, #1 Ford dealership in the Mid-South, is open every day of the week. If you're in the market for a new car or a truck or an SUV, and they sell a lot of them, give Landers your business. They'll earn it. First of all, they'll earn it. Take $500 off for SEC Sidelines audience members. They'll deliver anywhere. All kinds of opportunities on trucks, expeditions, Ford F-150s, Ford Escape. These new Broncos that they've got out there, every year they keep looking better. The 4-door with the big tire on the back, the Sasquatch package, the off-road package. They've got the hard top, the soft top. Get out there. Let Brad Bellamy, the general manager, know you heard about them on Sidelines. They'll work with you. They'll work with you on your credit. Sometimes it takes 30 minutes. They spent 8 hours recently with somebody. Kent Ritchie, the whole team out there is dedicated toward getting you in the right vehicle at the right price. They'll make it happen. LandersFordMemphis.com. If you didn't buy your last vehicle from Landers, you probably paid too much. And you've got My Town Roofing, great sponsors like Hewlett and Dunn. Hewlett and Dunn is on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. And, get on there. Go to HewlettandDunn.com. Order you some boots, great looking women's clothes, men's clothes, kids' clothes, toys. They've got the cap guns. They got everything in there at Hewlett and Dunn. Jewelry, great looking stuff for women. Purses, these new Barber purses for the ladies. Man, get out there, ladies. Go get one for your wife. You want to get some bonus points because she'll be a basketball widow through Monday night, late April 7th. She'll be watching so many games. Go get her some nice boots, dresses, Barber purses at Hewlett and Dunn, over 7,000 pairs of boots. Hey, most often we see the face of Christ released among us. We have the greatest country in the history of the world for executive producer Brenden Martin, and that was fun today with Buddy and Franz and Loren, Oakley, McFerrin, the intern. Check us out today, 5 p.m. Eastern on this channel, AU Undercover with Ronnie Sanders and Doug Dean, Kevin Skarbinski, and get your Ernie's brackets filled out. Take care. Thanks for watching.